Hello, and thank you for clicking on my YouTube video. And most likely, you're clicking on it because you subscribe to my channel. And I don't post a lot of long form videos, but I feel like now is a good time to check in because I've now lived in Los Angeles for over 3 years. Started off with moving into East Hollywood. Then I moved to Pasadena. Then I moved to Monrovia. So I actually started moving further and further away from Los Angeles. And the farther I moved from Los Angeles, the better my comedy voice and career has gotten. Now I live in Silver Lake, 5 minutes away from the theater I work at, the Lyric Hyperion, where I also produce a Monday open mic, one of the best open mics in the city. And I have a successful solo show, Three Cults Walk Into a Bar. And if you don't know about my show, I have done this show now 16 times. I sold it out 10 times. And the show is about me and my story about growing up in three different cults, getting kidnapped and surviving a near-death experience, all leading me into living in Los Angeles and pursuing stand-up comedy. And what has happened over the last little bit is if you've been watching my comedy journey, is I have gone from being a one-liner stand-up comedian to now a storyteller, where basically I'm throwing the jokes in these one-liners that, were kind of difficult just to with the 5, 10, 15 seconds of the jokes to get them to work. And I realized that the way I can make this all work and find my voice in comedy is by sharing my backstory. And I'm not going to give too much away, but for me, this is the best comedy has ever gone. It's the most exciting it has been, because what is the most exciting thing and the biggest goal you get when you start comedy is to one day have and create a stand-up comedy special. So I'm very, very excited to announce to you today, to let you know today, that I will be self-producing, self-financing my first ever stand-up comedy special that will be called Three Cults Walk Into a Bar. Now, I can't say much more about it, but I'm very, very excited because this is a thing that I've wanted for a very, very long time, and it was such a hard, difficult thing to write, create, and especially just going through a lot of the trauma, dark moments of my life, to bring those to the stage and into the light and share them with strangers. Other people have gone through similar experiences, growing up in cults, has just been a magnificent, at times overwhelming, but so amazing to finally have found my voice, and to once I shoot it, goes into post-production. I don't know if it's going to end up in my YouTube or whether or not it's going to be shopped around. It's very, very exciting because what I have always done with my comedy is I've always wanted to create my stage time rather than rely on other people. When I started comedy, when I was in Santa Barbara, I started my own open mic, I started my own comedy show, and I created my stage presence and persona and everything through my own shows. And I like this because I've always hated the idea of taking my agency and kind of my power and putting it into someone else's hands. Okay, all I need to do is I get it in this comedy club. That's how I'm gonna make it. I go, I do this way, I do this way, and every single person has their own path. And I once thought my path would be through just producing my own comedy shows, and then eventually I'll just keep producing comedy shows and get my act that way. But the act that I started creating of my solo show, I was doing ambush style stand up comedy. And what ambush style stand up comedy is a bunch of people in a brewery watching a game, hanging out, getting off work, happy, bitter, sad, everything in me, everything. Whether or not it's a dive bar, a brewery, a restaurant, a, a winery, it's places that I produce comedy shows where all of a sudden, in the middle of a sentence, middle of a breakup, who knows what's happening. I go, attention everyone, yeah, there's going to be a comedy show in about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes. And then I would do my one-liners. But when I started doing, like, sharing dark parts of my life, it didn't really translate. So what ended up happening is working at the Lyric Hyperion is I basically worked on my entire show there and crafted it there and now run it there. So it has to be the place that ended up filming it. And I'm so very excited to share that with you. And also, what I essentially want to do is start at least vlogging or whatever this is, talking about how I feel leading up to it. I still have a show December 5th, a show in January, and that is it. Then March 1st, Sunday, 7 p.m. and 9:30 at the Lyric Hyperion, I am filming my stand-up comedy special. That's the last time you will be able to see this show live. And I am so excited because comedy is so, it's dominated by these right-wing hacks now are crowd work comedy, which is just not the comedy that I personally enjoy. I understand why people like it. No shade on that. But this is going to be something that will hopefully be refreshing, that people can connect to. And it's very much a solo show style with jokes. Is very funny. And how I got people out to it has been flyers. In Los Angeles, I put up thousands and thousands of flyers, so much so that I'm recognized on the streets or at my work by, wait a second, you're the Three Cults guy. And it's to become something in Los Angeles or to be known by strangers in Los Angeles is very, very difficult. So the fact that I've been able to accomplish that is amazing. But the way I keep selling out these shows is fantastic word of mouth of how good my show is, as well as non-stop flyering everywhere. I'm talking about Hollywood, West Hollywood, Santa Monica, Pasadena, downtown, Silver Lake, Echo Park, Chinatown, everywhere. Burbank, North Hollywood. And it's a mixture of the title of the show, the description, but it's just the pure amount of advertising to continuously get people out to my shows that is emotionally exhausting, physically exhausting, time-consuming, where it gets to a point where I need to capitalize when I have the momentum and when I know what's right. And the difficult thing will be is after I shoot it and have it, I'm going to need to create another hour. And I have ideas, I have all these kind of things. So I think the next thing here, and what I wish I've been doing throughout all of this, but the thing is I am I'm very, very self-conscious in terms of these front-facing videos. I hate this. I don't hate it in the idea of like, oh, I'm talking to people. Oh, I hate talking to people that follow me on YouTube and everything. That won't be a way to build any following. But it's like, it's the idea of there's a different level of vulnerability that you have to do now online with someone who can still have the human emotions of shame. Like, it's easy for a lot of people to put shitty things out there because they don't feel shame out of it. Like, somehow someone having a public freak out online and be like, hey, look, I'm famous now. You're famous for being an idiot. Where is your shame? So me experiencing it firsthand, one, knowing what it's like to go viral on cringe Reddit and videos, as I always think anything I put out is under the microscope of someone who wants to attack on my vulnerability. What I realize is I'm going to put out a special that has a lot of stuff in it that I'm like, wait a second, I'm not realizing that the entire world forever is going to know these things that have happened to me. So, setting up the tripod, setting it up, making it look like, hey, maybe I will click and watch this guy talking to a microphone for a little bit. And now I completely forgot. But so now, while I have the hour, is I am tinkering. I'm thinking about what will I want to talk about for my next one. It's hard to kind of gauge things because I feel like when I put the special out, I don't know how it's going to be received. I know how it's been received from people who have seen it. They've absolutely loved it. It's not like, oh man, I'm doing these shows and oh man, everyone hates them. Everyone hates them. I might as well put out a special. But what I really want is I want to put out something different. Something where it's not this like big grand scheme, like, hey, look, everyone cheer me super loud. This guy is coming out of an arena and he's just going to tell jokes. It's something grounded in the reality of what people have actually gone through in their lives. And that's what makes me so excited to know that comedy can be entertainment, it can be funny, but it also can mean something. And I've always wanted that with my art because partnered with my art is the enjoyment of going to the cinema and the movies. And there's movies where I have life-changing experiences sitting in an AMC theater where I realize a part of me has changed. The essence of my DNA is finding the music, the synth, or the emotional connection to a character where they finally redeem themselves at the end. Where I finally realize is that I've gone through this whole life, everything, and can finally have that moment where I can have my arc and show people confidently and the best way possible with jokes, being funny. Hey, world, I'm Uriah Westman, and this is my story that is sad, that is happy, that is funny, that is dark, that is relatable, that is shocking, and be like, I'm comfortable with that. I'm excited about that. And I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the people who subscribe and watch my videos by not sharing this with you guys. I've been sharing the shorts, all that kind of stuff, and I don't know why I haven't done more. I've been very busy, and it's a lot of work to then do this, edit this, and now I'm doing it at like 3 in the morning because my sleep, at any time that the clocks change, I'm talking about when they spring forward or spring backward, man, it always turns me in that I'm just awake until the sun starts going up. Then I go back to sleep and wake up when it's dark out again. But something is I think I figured out now is I consider myself a lot more of a storyteller than a comedian, I guess. It's there's a I think a lot of the stuff that is kind of transformed within how I feel about myself. There's still like the things that I struggle with. And things I struggle with are things like social skills and talking to people. And then if I have a horrible conversation, in terms of a horrible conversation, is just me making a fool out of myself where no one will remember a thing, or me saying a word wrong accidentally, and then I'm like, oh my god, this person's gonna think I'm an idiot because I said that. So there's a certain point with comedy that it can help me overcome these things, but of course there's always going to be another skeleton in the closet. There's going to be another thing that I need to dissect, and because I always think in the way I write is I'll all of a sudden think about a joke. I'll say a joke in passing. I'll write down a one-liner being like, okay, this can work very well with one of the stories I've been working on. And what I've kind of realized is I find a one-liner, I start building a story and start realizing, wait a second, that one-liner can be put within the story. What's great because it has a forward progression in the story as well as the jokes. And I think that what has been so fun about this transformation is feeling less like I'm delusional, because when there is people coming out and enjoying my shows and afterwards meeting me, telling me how much it was great, is like, that is real. That is real. That is not a bunch of bots, or a bunch of people watching 2 seconds of a video. This is real, tangible evidence that I am moving forward in a positive way in my comedy career, which is just absolutely I once, when going to the Empire Twin Theater in Livingston, Montana, I loved to go see movies there. It was easy to sneak into rated R movies. It was a freeing experience where I could, because I worked with my dad and was paid a low wage. I'm pretty sure there's child labor laws, but my escape was cinema. And I once thought, man, this would be so amazing to live in Los Angeles, do comedy, and go see movies where it all happens. And it always happens in Los Angeles. Los Angeles will always be the place where all the people come to try to make it, all the crazies come, all the people of raw talent who get sucked up in the machine of having to pay rent, bills, and the overall exhaustion of living in this traffic-filled mega metropolis of a city that changes block to block. You have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea when a job's going to pop up in the industry here, and that's kind of how it works. And now the idea that tomorrow I could go see a movie, I could go to a stage and do comedy, and I work in the area that I have a theater at. There's so much stuff going on. I book a 40-seat comedy club called the Glendale Room, an independent comedy club that I've been doing for over a year. I'm forgetting that. I think sometimes especially with just like the hustle of the city and just comedy, it's been important for me to finally take that step back and actually just say things out loud of the things I've accomplished. And I don't live with roommates now. I am a high school dropout who grew up in 3 cults, and I live alone in Silver Lake? Are you kidding me? You would look at my resume and be like, this guy's living with 10 roommates, minimum 10 roommates, and dozens of cockroaches. No, I live alone, and I mean that in a positive, happy way. Because living with roommates, especially when I was a punk, it's like it's great in the 20s. Once you start getting to the 30s and 40s, I'm like, and I don't think there's no shame on people having roommates. I just ended up lucking out with an amazing living situation by someone who else that lived in LA that helped me and gave me advice for my solo show, and was at the open mics storytelling, that gave me that support that I possibly wouldn't be here now. It just lucked out that the roommate I was living with Monrovia, they're having a kid and they weren't going to renew the lease. And what happens? I immediately get to this place. There's no God. I don't think there's God, but there's essence of the universe, and sometimes things just align. Not to mention, I'm sober now. I don't drink. I do smoke weed sometimes, but I more or less mentally have kind of been the best in my life. And I feel like when I say that is I almost feel a sense of um sadness or almost anger, or I shouldn't say stuff like that because like the emotion of happiness for me, it feels like a less stable emotion that I'm not really used to. I'm used to, anger, road rage, sadness. Those are easy to just wallow in that because there's almost sometimes it's comfortable to be in that. And happiness is more of an upper, and you can't constantly just be happy, but it's finding that middle range. Caffeine helps to still have the time to realize that things are going pretty well in my life, where I want to basically say almost for the first time. And saying that out loud is like, okay, the universe, what are you gonna do now? It's very exciting.